According to a report, Boris Johnson intentionally provided false information to members of Parliament about the partygate scandal and therefore should be prohibited from participating in parliamentary sessions. Following its much-awaited inquiry, the committee also suggested that the ex-Prime Minister undergo a 90-day suspension from parliamentary duties. After a thorough parliamentary investigation, it has been determined that Boris Johnson deliberately deceived Parliament on several occasions with his statements regarding gatherings at Downing Street that were in violation of COVID regulations. After a thorough investigation, the Members of Parliament's Privileges Committee determined that Mr. Johnson's offences were severe enough to warrant a 90-day suspension should he still hold the position of MP. This exceeds the minimum time frame required to activate a recall petition, which could lead to a potential by-election. The committee's report, which was released this morning, was highly anticipated and contained a finding regarding Mr. Johnson. The House has been deceived on numerous instances. Last week, the individual in question displayed an even greater level of disrespect through their actions, as they made accusations against the committee and as a result undermined the democratic processes of the House. The individual in question played an active role in the campaign of mistreatment and the endeavour to coerce the committee into submission. After reviewing the matter, the committee recommended that since Mr. Johnson has resigned from his position as an MP, he should not receive a former member's pass, granting him access to Parliament. The committee's review, consisting of a condemning 30,000 words, stated that Mr. Johnson had committed a grave act of contempt towards the House by intentionally providing misleading information. This was an exceptionally grave infraction, as it was carried out by none other than the Prime Minister, the highest-ranking official in the government. Never before has a Prime Minister been discovered to have knowingly deceived Parliament. In response to the committee's report, the ex-Prime Minister retaliated swiftly by referring to it as a sham and declaring, "I was mistaken in my trust of the committee and their intentions." Unfortunately, the truth of the matter is that the responsibility for manipulating the truth to fit personal agendas does not rest on my shoulders. Rather, it is Harriet Harman and her committee who are culpable. Today is a bleak day for both members of Parliament and for the principles of democracy. The outcome of this ruling implies that no member of Parliament can be exempt from the threat of revenge or dismissal on baseless accusations by a small faction who wish to remove them from their position in the House of Commons. I hold no disdain whatsoever towards Parliament or the significant tasks that must be carried out by the Privileges Committee. It is despicable for the Privileges Committee to misuse their authority in an undemocratic manner, with the goal of delivering the last blow in a prolonged political assassination. This behaviour is below any reasonable standard of decency. Since last June, the Commons Privileges Committee has been scrutinising the actions of the ex-Prime Minister. This came after a police investigation and an inquiry by Sue Gray, a senior civil servant, verified that multiple gatherings had occurred at Downing Street during the lockdowns. Under the direction of Harriet Harman, a Labour MP, a bipartisan committee has been conducting an evaluation to determine if Mr. Johnson intentionally or carelessly deceived Parliament with his assertions that Number 10 adhered to all COVID regulations and advice. The Members of Parliament, MPs, have reached a decision that raises doubts about Mr. Johnson's defence. According to them, his claim that he had not been informed about the illegality of the gatherings was not believable. In addition, he confronted the committee regarding the absence of any documentation within the evidence presented to him that would suggest he received prior notice or guidance of any kind regarding potential violations of the rules or regulations concerning the event in question. According to the committee, it is their belief that Mr. Johnson's first-hand experience at the gatherings would have provided him with the necessary knowledge to make a satisfactory assessment of their nature. Therefore, they maintain that he would not have had to rely on advice or guidance to do so. It should be observed that Mr. Johnson made multiple declarations to both the general public and the House, reiterating the duty of all individuals in the United Kingdom to comprehend and adhere to the COVID protocols currently implemented. The ex-Prime Minister has reiterated his belief that a certain leaving party at Number 10 was necessary for work-related reasons. This particular party was held to bid farewell to the former communications chief, Lee Kane. and during the event, the ex-Prime Minister was observed making a toast to his colleagues. The committee delivered their verdict once more and ruled against him. They expressed their disbelief that the significant decrease in employee morale during the COVID-19 pandemic was enough to justify Mr. Johnson's adjusted interpretation of the regulations regarding gatherings and the recommendations for maintaining physical distance. The statement made by them was as follows: "A gesture of gratitude in the form of workplace appreciation, an after-work gathering, birthday festivities, or a morale-boosting occasion is not necessarily imperative nor justifiably required." Without a doubt, Mr. Johnson firmly holds that he deemed every event he participated in and had first-hand experience of to be indispensable. Mr. Johnson continues to maintain a belief that lacks a rational foundation in both the facts and the regulations. A reasonable individual examining the regulations and events would not share the same belief as Mr. Johnson. This is evident from the fact that similar events did not occur throughout the UK during the period of pandemic protocols. After receiving the preliminary conclusions of the report, Mr. Johnson resigned as a Member of Parliament on Friday. The report has since been published. As a final effort to discredit the Tory-dominated committee just before its release, he insisted that the highest-ranking Conservative member should step down from their position. In 2020, during a time when COVID restrictions were enforced, Sir Bernard Jenkin was reported to have attended a drinks party in Parliament hosted by Commons Deputy Speaker Dame Eleanor. As per the Guido Fawkes website, he was accused of exhibiting monstrous hypocrisy. According to opposition MPs, Mr. Johnson's actions were interpreted as an attempt to shift focus away from the findings of the report. A source who was allegedly close to the committee labelled this intervention as desperate stuff. To support our channel's growth and ensure broader awareness, kindly hit the like and subscribe buttons. This will help us reach more individuals and disseminate valuable information. Thank you in advance.